These are the dual system controls. They're identical to both sides, and one adjustment on one side affects the other side equally, so there's no readjusting from tack to tack. Your front is, and I've kept the color code, black for the Cunningham, blue for the Vang, green for the centering control on the boom in the back, and red for the height control on the Traveler in the back. Your forward two go forward, your back two go aft. These are all the Harkin cheek blocks, small Harkins with wedges. I have eyes at the top, and the eyes are set up so that when the line falls over like this, it doesn't disconnect, but you can always adjust from the railing. But if you want to release, just let it out and reset. That's the general idea. Now, starting with the back, we'll start with the Traveler. I've disconnected the Traveler from the boom so that I can give you an idea. Basically, my Traveler is now set at maximum height, which is 48 inches from the base of the hull right now. When it's at the maximum height, my centering control, which is a single line, runs from a ring right here through this block, over to this block on the side. Up here it's tied back down to the other side, through to the back. So this is the max that it can ever go, and that's the one line. That's not actually physically touched by the crew members or the helmsman. What's actually touched is this line right here. This line right here, I'm going to come up to the front again, starts at your cam on the left-hand side, goes down through a cheek block, it goes up under the seat, and it's just through a block in order to keep it organized. From there, it comes back to the back of the boat, where it's at its maximum height right now, runs through a block, forward to just below the thwart, another turning block, back again to the back, once again through the organizer under the thwart, up to the starboard cheek block, and then we go back up to the side where the cam cleat. This way it's a single control, both sides, dual adjusted. That's our centering device. That also works in conjunction with a red line just aft of it. It also runs through a cam cleat, through a cheek block, under the seat, this was a single control line that runs through there, through the Traveler block, which is a dual block, back down to the port side, and once again forward to the cheek block and back up to the cam. This actually is a single line control. Dual-ended, single line control for the height of the Traveler. Once again, maximum height for when you're adjusting your lines is 48 inches. This is probably a good time to talk about control lines. I have several here. I usually buy, when I do a boat, 100 foot of red, 100 foot of blue, 100 foot of green, and 100 foot of black. This allows me to make the adjustment controls, get the purchases, and the leftover line can be used for tie-up lines, tie-down lines, organizers, etc. I believe this is 3/16, but it's also in my spreadsheet for adjustment lines. I just wanted to give you all a reference to the size of the line. Moving further forward now, we'll talk about the Cunningham. Once again, this is a dual-ended line with two parts. We have the line on either side going through the cam cleats down to cheek blocks on both sides. It goes under the forward thwart where there's a pair of organizing blocks up here high. The black one is the Cunningham, goes down to the mast step. From the mast step it comes up through a turning block. And there we just put a tagline with an I for the Cunningham. And the other side goes all the way back. I've just taken this and put this up here momentarily to organize it. But here's what it would look like normally. And finally, the blue line, which is our boom vang, which is got a Bramble hook on it, and that's to connect to the base of the mast because the mast comes out and goes in. It also has a swivel so everything stays nice and clean. We use a little bit of Armstrong rope to make the final connection to the boom. That goes up through a single block on the boom and back down to a triple. The triple is now connected to a double in the middle, which is the purchase that we're using, and then we have two singles on either side, which then take the lines to our organizer under the thwart. And that thwart, then it runs forward to the cheek block and comes up on the side of the boat. This puts quite a bit of tension on the boom, almost to the ability to break the boom if possible, but it doesn't take much and there's not much size to that line, so it doesn't require much arm strength in order to really put some serious boom bang on. Anyway, I think that basically covers our control lines. Now, this is a fancy block that we bought from Selden. This is the main base swivel. And what I like about it is it's ratchets side to side. So when you stop and pulling your main sheet in, wherever you leave it, it stays there. The nice part about it also, based on the height of this seat or daggerboard box extension, we can make sure that this is adjusted with a ratchet right here that allows us to change the angle of the cam cleat to the side to meet any skipper's size or height. So it allows us to have a smooth and easy access to controlling the main sheet. Also on the aft end of the boom, based on the Traveler, which I neglected to mention earlier, was the actual position for all these Traveler and height controls are 23 inches from the inside of the boat or 24 from the outside, which is a class rule. This cannot be any further forward than 24 inches from the stern. And based on that, when you build your boom, the length to your controls, locks and everything, will be at 12 and a half. 17 inches set on the boom, and that will be directly over a 23-inch connection to the hull. Finally, we have our tack control or our jib tensioning tool, or it's got lots of names, but basically it sets the halyard tension for our jib. I've always preferred this, and this is just my favorite, is to have these two Ron stands, a triple with a becket and a cam cleat. And I attach it to the support for the back of the daggerboard box. I put the bungee cords up to the front, and I set a leader on it usually so that I can get my working distance somewhere in here so I can always come back or repeat most of my tensioning processes. I have done a duplication by putting a ring or an eye on the back of this side, but I have a matching eye on the other side. But for rounding a standard race course on port side roundings, this works best for me. But if you were into a reverse course where it was going the other direction, you could always shift this to the other side of the boat and run it from that side. I also use that same eyelet to run my bungee cord that keeps my Opti hiking straps for the rear in place. The real nice part about the Opti straps is they're about the right length for a windmill. They do stay nice and tight over the center of the boat, but with the special clip there for holding the elastic, it allows you to adjust it to whatever height you are and still bring it back to the center when you're not using it. The other thing that we also use is these are laser hiking straps for the crew. And I used a laser strap there. I have a bungee cord up to the thwart organizer clip just to hold it up so it's in the right position so you can hook your feet very easily to it. And I tie it to the thwart strengthener on the front edge, which is the same place I use to attach my elastic for, or my bungee cord for ease control on my jib tensioning device. As a reference also for setting the mast while we're sitting here, I just get some of the white magic board from West Marine and I cut these wedges to go in for mast guide and pre-bend for setting up the mast, but that will be at a later time when we talk about mast tuning. But anyway, that's magic board. It's very easy to cut with a saw. You can adjust, you don't have to varnish it, lasts a long time. The only other thing that's on here that most boats don't have are these cams right on the front thwart. And basically I've set those up for my crew, sometimes in light air or just going downwind when they have it and their hands are full with doing something else. You can take a jib sheet and easily use that for control or light air sailing when you're sitting on the thwart and there's a reason to fix the jib in that position. Anyway, I think that about covers the inside setup of the Johansson windmill with the dual control system. I can talk about
the arm length.
I also want to talk about Ethan Bixby has a lesser control boat. He has single controls, and because I had them bolt these things in when I had the boat built, your option would be either to drill and put resin in and re-drill afterwards to put in with screws, or as he did, he actually drills through the outer thwart and connects his traveler arrangement and his other blocks out here. Very similar to what we did when we worked on our jib block. In our jib block, we have one bolted through the outside, and we've turned it enough so that we can drill one through the inside. Once again, you have to be very, very careful, since it's a cord boat, not to crush it when you're tightening up your hardware. So you either have to drill the holes big and fill it with epoxy, or put backing plates and spread the load and only tighten your nuts up enough to seal it with 5200. Anyway, I think that about covers it.
Your arm length.